Well, I'm not sure if the consensus in the studio is that it was a courageous decision. However, an indication of just how big a decision it was is that Darren Cann, our refereeing analyst, joins us in the studio, former Premier League assistant referee. Shay, in particular, and Danny have thoughts on this, but this is just you and me for a little while, Darren. Explain to me, and you didn't make this decision, but explain to me what you think the referee's process was.
Yes, well, when the corner comes across, we see a challenge with lots of players engaging. In particular, we see Pablo with his arm across David Raya, but also crucially holding his arm as well, impeding him so that he can't actually catch the ball. From this reverse angle, we see also Todibo has got hold of David Raya's shirt as well. So two West Ham players, unfortunately, are fouling the goalkeeper, one holding his arm, the other holding his shirt. And whilst it wasn't picked up on the field, understandably, it had to be reviewed by the VAR because a goal resulted and the correct decision was made. It is a foul on the goalkeeper.
I would think, Shay, as a goalkeeper, you would think that's disgraceful. Goalkeepers should not be held back in that way. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, well, I think when Darren breaks it down, in the cold light of day, it's probably a foul. But the thing that sort of grates me a little bit is we've seen it numerous occasions with Arsenal this season, goalkeepers getting blocked off, defenders getting blocked off, and the goal stands. I mean, a couple of goals stand. I mean, is the Bayern one at Old Trafford. I think Emi Martinez gets elbowed in the face. Them goals stand. So I think everyone's frustrated, Darren, about the consistency of the refereeing decision, why them goals are allowed to stand and today's was disallowed, because it's so much at stake at the bottom of the league and at the very top. That's the thing. And the other thing, Darren, that gets to me a wee bit as well, Gabriel's holding, Odegaard's holding, Trossard's holding before the foul even happens to Raya. So when does the referee pick that's the foul I want to pick and not the foul previous?
Well, there's a lot of things to kind of look at, and we will come on to the other incidents that are happening around it. But surely the point, Shay, is that the correct decision is reached. That's what we want from consistency, is consistently correct decisions. And if you think this is a foul, then it should be given as a foul.
Well, you're right in that, what you're saying, but I've seen numerous goals from an Arsenal point of view given that I think was a foul and not given, so then the consistency is not there. They've scored 27 goals this season from set plays alone, Arsenal. That's a Premier League record, and you could sit here all night and go through every single one of them. I bet you an Arsenal player's fouling somebody leading up to goal. Not everyone, but there's a few of them very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't say anything dodgy here. Dodgy, I've said it now.
The controversy and discontent around Arsenal being given this goal, West Ham not being given the goal, is because it's Arsenal. They can't be held accountable for decisions in the past that they might have benefited. Yes, they're physically intimidating. Yes, they're brilliant at set plays. But the VAR officials have got to say what they see. And it's a clear foul. And just because it's Arsenal, we shouldn't get it distorted. It's not. It's a foul, and there shouldn't be any controversy to it. The only reason is because it's Arsenal.
When Jared Bowen gets in and goes, why does it take 5 minutes for the referee to look at it?
Because there was so much
clear and
going
obvious there. There's lots of things happening. It's just frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I think we don't want 30 seconds and then get the wrong decision. Yes, 5 minutes is a long time, but it's such a crucial decision that we need to get the right decision. I'd much rather the right decision that takes a bit longer than to take 30 seconds and get it wrong, and then the title is decided on the wrong decision, and maybe relegation is decided on the wrong decision.
And Darren, to go back to the point that Shay was making earlier about the consistency, not just across different games, but even within that one instance, because there were lots of confrontations going on, lots of grappling going on within the box. Obviously, the referee and the assistants are going to find it difficult to look at everything. That's what VAR is there to do, though. How do we make this clearer for referees so that they can get the right decision and focus on which incident is the most important?
Yes, I feel that the time has come now for a law change whereby no attackers are allowed in the 6-yard box before the corner is taken. So at goal kicks, forwards are not allowed in the penalty area. At corners, they shouldn't be allowed in the 6-yard box until the ball is in play. That would create natural separation and give the goalkeeper the space, so we wouldn't have these endless debates. And lots of teams grapple at corners, sometimes before the ball has come into play, and obviously the referee can't give a penalty or can't give an indirect free kick if the ball is not in play. So this would create that natural separation and eradicate these kind of situations.
Would that protect the goalkeepers, do you think, Shay?
Too much.
Too much, perhaps. I think on a goalkeeping point of that goal alone, I think David Raya was in the space too soon, actually. I think he needs to give himself a bit of space and come in fast and come in, jump over the top of people. He was there standing, then he can't get off the ground because he's not getting momentum. The only thing I was just going to ask Darren briefly was on the grappling before it gets to Raya. When does the referee pick out that that's the Raya foul is more important than the, say, Trossard and Odegaard fouling a person before it gets to Raya? How do they decide which is which?
Yeah, when two incidents happen, it's the incident that has the material impact that will be judged. So a bit like a penalty taker feigning when he takes the penalty kick. If there's encroachment at the same time, then the encroachment is ignored because the more serious offence is the person feigning when he goes to take the penalty kick. In this instance, we have the dropping zone with the goalkeeper. That's where the material impact takes place. That's where the foul is. And so, yes, there are other incidents as well. I've given my solution as to how I would get round that. But the main situation, the foul on the goalkeeper, was picked up, and ultimately we end with the correct decision. 2
games left to play now for Arsenal and for West Ham. Arsenal obviously going for the league title. West Ham looking to stay in the Premier League come the end of the season. A 95th minute goal is ruled out because of a VAR intervention. Is this, and there've been big title calls, big relegation calls, but because of everything, do you think this is the biggest call that's had to be made by VAR so far?
I do, Kelly, yes, and I don't think anyone would want to take place with Darren England, who was the VAR. No one would want to be sitting in that chair this afternoon. But he stepped up to the plate. He gave the right decision. And, yes, it's the biggest call I've seen in terms of VAR in Premier League history.
I'm not sure, as ever, with these decisions that we're ever going to change anybody's mind. But hopefully that's gone some way to explaining what's gone into making that decision. Darren, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us. Lovely to speak to you.
Pleasure.
Danny, one of the other things that you wanted to take a look at from Arsenal's point of view was the fact that Mikel Arteta was making some strange substitutions in that game.
Well, the life of a manager, the stress he must have gone through. Look, Ben White got injured and he decided to leave Declan Rice at right-back, which was probably the wrong decision, but he changed it at half-time. I understand why he did it. And then in the second half, they struggled, Arsenal. Even though Declan was back in the middle, they were probing, but they lacked creativity. They were running out of ideas. I mean, West Ham defended really well, don't get me wrong, but you can see Zubamende, who'd been brought on into the middle of the park in the first half. Maybe a little cute pass from Saka here. It was all a bit desperate. What does he do? He uses his strength in depth. He brings on Odegaard and Havertz. Odegaard made an unbelievable difference, but he took off Zubamende. Now, that's a big call for one of your top players. He subbed the sub. And he took Eze off, and I'm sure some of the Arsenal fans were thinking we should leave him on. But what he did is, as soon as he come on, he goes on a little press on his own here, but you can see his energy. Right, I'm going to try and inspire the other players. Come on, get with me. He's also good at getting on the ball. He hasn't had his best season, but he's got that ability to get on the ball and make things happen. He was really, really positive. And this strength in depth that Arsenal have in their squad now has paid dividends in recent weeks. So many players coming up with moments. And yeah, he for the 12 or 13 minutes he was on, he made a real difference. But Arteta's decisions won him the game in the end. Whereas he could, that was a brilliant ball from Odegaard, by the way. But he could have been we could be sitting here now crucifying him for some of the decisions he made. And this is a brilliant goal, little give and go, brave on the ball with Declan Rice, who's again in the central areas. But this is it, the patience, the awareness, waiting for the space for Trossard. And yeah, this is the life of a manager. I mean, he made some decisions today that some people didn't think were correct, but he reacted really quickly. And that's the good sign, a really good sign for a manager. Right, I've tried something, it's not worked. I'm going to change it again. So he changed it at half-time, he changed it in the middle of the second half, and he got the rewards.
Talking about decision-making under pressure, nowhere more so is that evident than in a goalkeeper's position. And David Raya with potentially a match-winning save there from Fernandes.
Yeah, when he made this save, I saw a bit of a flashback 2 years ago, I think, when Ortega made a save similar at Tottenham. I think Son went through in a 1v1 situation, and it was a big key moment. I think when they went on to win the Premier League, Pep on his knees, like going, that's a big opportunity. But this chance today, David Raya, Fernandes clean through on goal, 1v1 situation. We just sort of slow it down. I mean, Fernandes actually played really well from West Ham today, but I think he takes an extra touch here, and he didn't need an extra touch, and that gives David Raya the opportunity to make the save. But just keep an eye on David Raya. Watch the way he's balanced, and watch when Fernandes comes through. He doesn't go out and commit himself. He actually he gives the decision to the striker, as in the forward player, to make that decision. And this moment, this was 5 minutes before the Trossard goal. This is such a massive save in the scheme of the Premier League title. You know, Arsenal have got one hand on the trophy, and that's one of the reasons. See Arteta's reaction as well. He's thinking, oh my goodness, thank goodness for David Raya. There's his record. Look at the save percentage, goals conceded, unbelievable. And I think that's his 18th clean sheet this season. 3rd season in a row, Golden Glove winner. This guy is the real deal. And again, that save today, I can't speak highly enough. Unbelievable save.
Yeah, he was already confirmed as having a share of the Golden Glove. Now it is outright his for this season. And the title race bubbles on. Where are we now, Danny, do you think?
I think they're in a great position. They really are in a wonderful position. Obviously, the game's coming up. You'd expect them to win. The Palace one at the end because they got the European finals. Fell nicely for Arsenal. So it's done for me. I think it's done.
I think that the biggest hurdle was today. I really do. Away to West Ham, fighting for their lives. And obviously we talked about the controversial finish to the game. But again, you talk about bottle, I suppose, as we mentioned a few times, they showed a lot of bottle today to get it done, to get it over the line.
Well, we will talk more about the relegation battle and the implications for West Ham once we...
2 games away from being the champions of England, Gary, but, I mean, what a tale to tell.
Yeah. I don't know where you start, really, other than the fact that there is always a game that goes down in folklore when you go on to win a Premier League title, where the emotions, the roller coaster, the ups and downs of just thinking you've lost it, you've won it, you've lost it again, you've won it again. And from the David Raya save to the Trossard goal to the disallowed goal for West Ham at the end, that was 10 minutes that Arsenal fans will never forget. There are Arsenal fans who might be in their senior years who remember '89, who remember the drama and the thrill of what happened at Anfield that night. And obviously there are big moments at Old Trafford with Viltord and Overmars back in the day where they won titles, but that will be right up there with them. It can never match '89, I don't think, because that was just so special. But yeah, if they go on to win it in a couple of weeks' time, they will have been through the mill today. But there's always, I mean, I said partway through the second half, there's always one like this. And I think it had all the hallmarks of a title-winning half. The keeper's save, let's just hang on that for a second, because the keeper's outstanding, and he has been outstanding all season. He did his job brilliantly today. But your keeper will need to make a huge one-on-one save at some point in a title-winning run-in, where almost like I said, time stands still, and it's like, and you goosebumps, and you're almost like you can't believe that that's all happened in probably 1 or 2 seconds in total. But it felt like forever for me. It just felt like, oh, it's here, and it was Son against Ortega. Yep. A moment a couple of years ago, obviously Arsenal were on the wrong end of that, and so many more. Gundogan at the back post against Villa, I think, in, you know, obviously Aguero's. These moments that just sort of come, you know, Steve Bruce against Sheffield Wednesday. These sort of, you know, just these sort of moments come through today to me, and there's probably a load more. But that Raya save was the start of it. That's where you're thinking, right, okay. I used to say this thing when it's happening. You know, you could smell a title when it's happening, because things like that happen. And these Arsenal players have never won a Premier League title before, but if they ever listen to the Gary Neville podcast, which I doubt they do, something's happening. Something's just happened out there today that you can't put down to skill or anything other than you're just looking up there and thinking everything went right for us. And then they score the goal. A bit of quality, a 1-2 between Declan Rice and Ødegaard. And I have to say, Ødegaard, when he came on, was very important, because when everything around you is really fast and it feels like there is a fire burning, you need someone who's cold. And I thought Ødegaard actually provided some real composure in the last 15 minutes. I thought he was really important. Just someone who just makes the game slower, who just gets a control of it, who plays that final pass with the right pace, to the right angle, to the right foot, and he did it perfectly. And then, the drama of all dramas. We think Arsenal have lost it. We think West Ham have scored. Manchester City fans at home are celebrating. Tottenham fans are thinking, oh no. Darren England, it's all eyes on him. We actually at the start don't know. I mean, one thing at the start was it over the line? That was the thing that I think I was thinking. But it looked over the line from me, and Declan Rice, as it turned out, was way behind the line. But then we see, obviously, a VAR check for a foul on the goalkeeper. And I think that's the biggest moment in VAR history in the Premier League. And for those who maybe, and there are a lot who aren't fans of VAR, and maybe rightly so, but tonight it could have just made Arsenal champions, and it could have got a decision right that wouldn't have been right. And I was wondering whether Darren England had the courage, had the nerve to overturn, and what was he going to do in this moment? And I have to say, we get the luxury, and I wish all fans at home and I wish all fans in the stadium got the luxury of VAR, of being able to hear them, because to be fair, he was composed, he was walking through it, he was talking to the referee, he was talking to obviously his compatriot or his colleague who was sat next to him, and he walked through it perfectly, he checked everything around it. There was a little foul by Declan Rice behind, I think that was maybe after the Raya foul. And just the fact that Pablo just had his arm, if Pablo had been jumping like this, I think with leverage as a defender, as an attacker would do, then I would have said no problem. I think that he should be entitled to go for it. But he didn't. He just had his arm there and he wasn't looking at the ball. He wasn't looking to play the ball. And he was looking just to sort of impede the goalkeeper. And he left his arm in that sort of location for a second or two. And I think that is the problem. If it's just one of those where you're sort of just going up as a sort of like a movement, then I think maybe that's something that he would have got away with. But that prolonged, lasting sort of arm across the sort of what would be this position here of Raya, to me, has to then call it. And Darren England made the right decision. And Chris Kavanagh gets called over to the VAR screen. And Arsenal breathed the biggest sigh of relief probably that those fans have breathed for a long, long time.
From a human perspective, for Darren England, under immense scrutiny, and we don't often spend a lot of time bigging up these guys, indeed they take a lot of stick. Darren England was the bloke probably at the centre of the lowest point in the history of Premier League VAR. I don't know, these are football fans, they don't really care. They care whether their team wins or not, ultimately. But you've got to feel some human warmth on his behalf, because what an extraordinary moment in his professional life.
I mean, you're talking about the Luis Diaz incident, Tottenham-Liverpool a few years ago, which was obviously a shocker, and it was a massive low point. And I thought your line was a great line, that the moment that he was experiencing, he may still be experiencing it now, because he'll be waiting to see the fallout of the decision and what the reaction is. So what we say on Sky, what the sort of match of the day will be on tonight, and the other channels will obviously all have opinions, and TalkSport and all the other channels, and I'm mentioning them all because they'll all be assessing this decision. But if they see it like I saw it, he got it absolutely spot on. And you made a brilliant point that it was the most pressurised decision that he'll get, and he's got an FA Cup final coming up. He won't have anything in the FA Cup final that can compare with that, because the title is there in that moment. It's in the hands of the officials, but that's what VAR was brought in to do, to correct wrongs, to right wrongs in big moments where the players, and I remember we lost a title one year